Big guy and a small guy, raise your hand if you think that the big guy's going to win. Thank God everyone's so participatory. So, all of you are actually completely wrong. Even though it's not really as smooth or like stylish as Kung Fu or Karate in the movies with that, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has proven time and time that a smaller guy with the right techniques and leverage is going to beat the bigger guy. So what is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? It's kind of like grappling, which is like wrestling in the sense that it involves putting people on the ground and uses joint locks and chokeholds in order to make them submit or give up. Alright, so let's start with the history of it. So in J.R. Spin's Martial Arts of the World, he starts with the history and from Mitsuyo Maeda, who is a judo practitioner from Japan. Now Maeda came to Brazil in order to spread the word of judo, and what he did was he befriended a diplomat named Gastão Gracie. Now Gastão had two main sons named Carlos and Helio. So the story with the sons is Helio was the younger one, and he was born as a fragile child. Like, he wasn't very physically fit. He couldn't really do a lot of exercises without getting winded or getting sick. So doctors recommended that he just kind of watch on the sides while Carlos took all the main training. And so what happened was, one day Carlos got his black belt, he opened up his own school, and people started coming to his school to learn. One day Carlos is running late, a new student comes in and doesn't see Carlos, is about to leave. Helio stops him and he says, "Hey man, let me teach you a free private lesson, and if you like it, you can stay. If you don't, you can leave." So about an hour or so passes, Carlos comes in, he apologizes to the student, and the student actually says, no, it's completely fine. What I want though is I want Helio to be my main instructor because I like his style of teaching. So that's actually kind of where Gracie Jiu-Jitsu started. So Helio, like I said before, he's a smaller guy, he's not physically strong, he's not big, he can't really use physical attributes to work for him. So Renzo Gracie, his grandson, actually talks about it in his book, BJJ Theory and Technique, how Helio had to modify Carlos's techniques to use more leverage, more angles, rather than like strength and power. So as we can see here, this guy's pretty big, and this guy's pretty small. I don't know what it looks like. There we go. So, there's obviously a big size discrepancy, but it's crazy that this smaller guy can win if he has enough technique and enough leverage. So, how it started really? Well, in order to spread to America, Helio decided that in order to do that, he was going to hold a no-holds-barred tournament, inviting all these masters of different styles, like the boxing champion, wrestling champion, kung fu champion, all these different champions, to fight his son, Royce Gracie. Now, Royce is a smaller guy. He's probably like average size, 6 foot, 170, and all these other guys are like 6'5", 250. Now, the crazy thing is everyone's like, oh, Royce is not going to win. Well, what ends up happening is Royce wins, takes all the money, and he does that by submitting all the guys. So here we can see an armbar, and his arm is hyperextended, so it might break. So from there, everyone started to see that Jiu-Jitsu is real. It's not just like karate or anything like that. So it started to spread to America, and people started incorporating it just as a sport, just as used for MMA, all these other things. But let's switch it more to modernization. From here, people started making competitions for it. So more about like the position, more about submissions, less about actual just straight fighting. So in the Journal of Athletic Training by E.M. Kreisworth, he starts talking about how there's a transition from fighting to a sport and how guys are more focused on athletics rather than technique. They're not completely forgetting technique, but they're incorporating both into their styles. And so Francois Vidal in his magazine Sports and Science talks more about how people are focusing on like developing forearm strength for grips, developing core in order to like move their hips better, things like that. And we started to see a shift in how people started doing jiu-jitsu. Like, more techniques now are developed for the sport rather than fighting in a practical situation. Which is okay because it leads to kind of how judo got into the Olympics. So what everyone is talking about nowadays is how we want jiu-jitsu to come into the Olympics in order to, I guess, publicize it and spread the word. But it's kind of having a hard time because of the fact that there's not really a main crew, there's not really an official head, and they're having trouble with the Olympic Committee. So right now it's a little bit of a rut, but who knows? The next Olympics is in Rio, so that's where jiu-jitsu started. That's where it should be, right? And no one's excited. And no one's excited. I don't know how to get out of this, so I'm just gonna put this down.